Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, September 16th, 2023. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun is just rising now. 65 degrees outside. It's going to be 88 today. Lots of clouds, maybe a little rain. We'll see. There's the sun shining brightly. We're moving the cows, or I'm moving the cows, to the next cell in this first section. That would be the third cell of 7 in this first section of 6. This is the first morning after the move to the new rotation. And we got plenty of grass. No complaints here. I can probably leave the cows here for a couple days and they wouldn't be able to get to all of this. Because there's 42 moves, so each of these little sections is a little more than an acre. I think it's 1.5 acres, if I'm not mistaken. 42 times 1.5 would be, yeah, about 60. Yeah. The goals of rotational grazing, obviously, is to get fatter cows and more of them on the same piece of land with fewer inputs. We don't want to buy feed, we don't want to buy hay that we don't need. We want to minimize the inputs there. We also want to minimize or eliminate, ideally, the chemicals that we put into the soil. The fertilizers, herbicides, insecticides, pesticides. And get these animals living in a most natural and healthy state. Cows are healthiest when they're eating grass on fresh pasture. They're not meant to eat where their poo is. Here, I'll show you this. That's a patty, I think, from 3 weeks ago. You know. So we were here 3 weeks ago. A cow dropped a patty, and then the dung beetles got to it. They dug in there and they put a bunch of holes and they extracted all the nutrients they could. The flies laid their eggs in it almost immediately when the patty was dropped. And then the fly larvae hatched after a few days. But the problem was, by that time the patty was already dry, so the fly larvae are dead. So that's kind of what I want to see on the manure patty story. So one of the things I've learned doing this for 2 years, this is my 3rd year doing this, is that you can't graze what you don't have. And you can't graze if it won't leave behind enough to recover quickly. So if you can't graze, you have to take your cows off of the pasture, put them into a sacrificial lot and feed them. And that's what I should have done last year during the drought, because I didn't have anything. You can take a look at the videos from a year ago. You'll see I just had a lot of dust, a lot of dead grass, nothing like this. So from now on, I've been rotating them more quickly, 21-day rotations, thanks to some advice from a gentleman that lives in this area. And I've also been thinking deeply about whether or not the cows are going to overgraze when they do rotate. And I'm going to take them off pasture if they will overgraze it. I saw something here. That's a different kind of grass that I'm not familiar with. So I have seen in different parts of the pasture new pieces of grass coming out of the ground. The cooler temperatures, I think, has inspired the cool season grasses to give it a shot. Now, with the cool season grasses, we'll never see the kind of growth we'll see in the spring. But there's a lot of ryegrass in my pasture. And the pattern for the ryegrass is it grows, it puts on seed heads, the seeds drop to the ground, and it dies, right? Or rather, it dies and then the seeds drop to the ground. Then, when the conditions are right, the seeds will sprout. They'll grow a little bit in the autumn, put some roots down, then they'll kind of go to sleep, right, for the winter. And then when springtime rolls around, they'll start growing again. And they grow quickly. They grow up, they grow fast. But eventually the heat signals to the ryegrass it's time to put the seed heads on, or their age. I don't know exactly what the exact combination is, but by the time May rolls around, the ryegrass is drying out, and when June comes, the ryegrass is done. And it's not going to grow back for the rest of the year until autumn again. So that's when the summer grasses, the warm season grasses, kick in. And you can see here I got a lot of bermuda grass. A lot of thick bermuda grass. Look at that. Almost up past my boot. Yeah. We are currently still in D2, which is called a severe drought. Even though we've had rain for the past few days. The rain wasn't very much. Probably less than a quarter inch. And oftentimes what will happen in a pasture is the rain will come, moisten the plants and moisten the soil a little bit, but then the heat of the day will drive it off. And so by the time the evening comes around, all you got is a little bit more humidity. So I think one of the things that my pasture does well is it's able to trap whatever moisture is there and keep it in the ground. And so I've had green pasture this whole summer. Here, at least, not all of my pasture, but I've had green pasture my whole summer, even throughout August and early September, when I think most people's pastures have already petered out. They're pretty much done because they have not enough water to sustain the plants. You'll notice I have a lot of goat weed. Here it's not so bad. My other parts it is quite bad. I say bad, I really should say thick, because I found that the goat weed doesn't seem to hinder the growth of the grass. And in fact, it almost appears as if it might have helped the growth of the grass. So I'm not saying the goat weed's bad. Nature is just nature, right? It just grows whatever grows best. And for whatever reason, goat weed grows well. And I'd rather have goat weed than a patch of dirt, because at least the goat weed is capturing sunlight and converting the carbon dioxide in water to sugar, which is the source of all life in my pasture. And it does other things in the soil too. Anyway, I'm repeating a lot of stuff I've said before, but I figured I should, because I imagine this video might get a few more views than others, and people might see it and say, what in the world is going on? Why does this guy have thick green grass at the end of summer when we've had another drought, 3 droughts back to back, year after year? The first drought was one of the most historic droughts, 150-year drought. We've never seen a drought like that for 150 years in this area. The next drought was even worse, not because of its severity, but because there was no moisture in the soil left for the plants. The first drought wasn't too bad because we had moisture in the soil. And this third drought is milder by comparison, but still it's a drought, So if you're wondering what I did, that's what I did. I rotationally grazed. I haven't put any herbicide, insecticide, pesticides. I don't put chemicals on the cows to kill the flies. I don't worm the cows, right? I mowed, I shredded the goat weed for the past 2 years, but there's a part of the pasture I didn't shred last year, and I found that it makes no difference. I probably shredded too late. They say don't shred once the seed head gets on. Kind of pointless because you're just spreading seeds. But I did it anyway just to see. So the only big mistake I made, I think, other than being an ignorant fool, is that I rotationally grazed the cows when there was no grass. I should have kept them in a sacrificial pen and let the ground recover. Oh look, the neighbor's calves are playing around. They're playing like follow the leader or something. I don't know what they're doing. They're having fun. Anyway, so that's the secret of, I'm going to put in air quotes, success in my pasture. I don't have any great wisdom or knowledge. I've just been following the advice of people like Greg Judy. He's on Green Pasture Farms. Gabe Newell up in North Dakota. Obviously his climate's quite a bit different than mine. Greg Judy's climate is quite a bit different than mine too. They get rain, they get snow, they get real snow. They have like real seasons. We just have a cool autumn, you know, what he would probably call fall. And we get freezing temps and we panic over here in Texas. People start dying, you know, in northeast Texas here. But yeah, just following their advice, just doing the best I can with what I know, which isn't much. So hopefully this will inspire you to do something. Maybe it'll help you have a little more success. If a software programmer with a physics major can take over a decent pasture to begin with, I can't say it was bad. It was pretty good. And you know, have green grass at the end of the latter half of September after 3 historic droughts back to back, you know, it can't be that hard. You just got to find techniques that work for your pasture. All right, guys, have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.